All right. So we are back on our bullshit. And by our bullshit, I mean playing Gro-a-tog all the time and, not really doing anything else with our lives because Gro-a-tog is just a super sick deck, super fun deck. And right now it is playing like a super good deck. So my latest iteration, I keep on trying to work on the numbers, trying to figure out the right balance. And recently, I have sort of reflected on how games often go. And one of the most common ways for games to go is for my opponent and I to sort of trade resources. And eventually, I just have one creature and one counterspell in hand, and they don't have any cards in hand that matter. And I just counterspell the next thing that they do that's relevant, and I hit them, and then I cantrip, and then I find another counterspell, and then once again I have counterspell up. It's happened so many times. Gro-a-tog for such a long time has ran 2 or 3 copies of counterspell, and I've begun to feel like the entire deck is really shifting. We've talked about this on the Spy Colony podcast, is really shifting from being a fish deck to a counter sliver deck. You want to play a creature with 2 mana up and counterspell, or if it's an early in the game, you know that your opponent can't do anything threatening to you. You just, jam a creature into their open mana. I'm not planning on countering removal spells. I'm not really interested in countering removal spells because I just know that my next threat is, only a few draws away. Another thing that informs that is that once again, Daze is just not feeling like what Gro-a-tog wants to be doing. You can't you obviously Daze is incredible on the play. You're on the play, you play a 2-drop, you Daze their 2-drop, right? But the problem is the most important cards that they're going to send back in your direction are 1-drops, are Swords to Plowshares and Lightning Bolt, or all manner of 1-mana removal. And then they can also just respect your Daze and pass the turn, or they can focus on their own game plan. Which I guess Daze does disrupt, but basically, the dream, you just go Quirion Dryad, I have Daze back up, and they're just okay, well, I have Swords of Plowshares with 1 mana up. What are you going to do? That combined with the fact that my suppression of choice has shifted from Armageddon to Winter Orb. Armageddon just feels a lot more potent than Winter Orb. It feels like a lot more relevant in a lot more matchups. And if anything, if I'm going to start my disruption in the main deck, I want to start Armageddons and board Winter Orbs, because I want to start Armageddons when they have a few targets for naturalized effects, and then I want to board into Winter Orb where they have to decide between their plan for removing my creatures, their plan for removing my Winter Orb, their plan for dealing with my counterspells, and their plan for dealing with my interaction. So, then Winter Orb gets in and sticks a lot more often. Otherwise, deck is pretty much the same. I've got the Miser's Daze in there. I trimmed on Fire Ice. Fire Ice ended up being sort of the weakest spell in the deck. It's very, very good when fire is good, but fire is going down in stock, and Swords of Plowshares is just always better than fire. So basically, I went over to Swords of Plowshares. Now the question is Swords of Plowshares always better than fire and or ice? And that answer is a little tricky, because I basically think that ice is just not a spell, and it's it's just fire is it's like this spell, and this is cycling. We don't play Unearth, we don't play Renewed Faith. I don't know. Renewed Faith actually sounds pretty sick, but we don't really want to cycle for 2 mana. It's not what this deck is interested in doing. Since we're playing fewer days, we're no longer icing to set up days turns and extending turns. Which again, I actually kind of want to revisit this whole line of thinking. So old Gro-a-tog paradigm was just get a creature, protect the creature, attack, sort of manipulate mana and put your opponent in situations where they have to run into Daze, catch them with the Daze, and then run away with the game. And like, there's just so many things that can go wrong. What if they just remove your creature? What if they stick, if they have just like 3 removal spells and they stick a removal spell on your creature? Then your deck is full of Fire, Ice, and Daze, and you're just like spinning your wheels, and you just like have no endpoint to get to. The endpoint used to be Psychatog, but it's just a different world we live in. There's Oath of Druids, there's big blockers, there's Call of the Herd. There's decks that, there's like the mono removal decks have gotten better, right? The mono removal deck used to be Landstill. Landstill is like super over leveraged on Swords to Plowshares. Now the mono removal deck is like a black-white control deck, which has Swords to Plowshares, it has Vindicate against sideboard Smothers. The Rock is still semi-playable. The Rock is a hard matchup, and you're not going to win the Rock matchup by casting Daze and Fire Ice. So, or Ice specifically. So, we've moved away from what have always been the weakest cards in the decks. We're always the first ones to sideboard out, and then we've put in the first cards you sideboard in, more Swords to Plowshares, the Armageddon, more Counterspells, which are just sort of always good. They're only not good when your opponent is the beatdown, and that's where you want cards like Fire. But if your opponent's the beatdown, just try to get them in game 2, and then once again, beatdown decks. Like the Fire Ice Daze plan doesn't really work against beatdown decks anyway. So just because we changed it for Counterspell, like if the Swords to Plowshares are actually going to give us a shot, right? Because they might cast creatures that cost more than 1 mana, and whatnot. So love talking about Gro-a-tog. I get a lot of questions about this deck. You're welcome to keep asking me questions. I'm keep tinkering with it. I registered this for the league, but I'm thinking I'm still hating these chills. They don't always get there, and they're taking up so much sideboard slots just for one matchup. So lately I've been contemplating Call the Herd, and honestly, there's a lot that I feel like can still change about this deck. So excited to jam some games, and excited to keep pushing Gro-a-tog to its limits. See you in round 1. All right, another week, or another 2 weeks rather, another playoffs. This time we're starting against Mr. Always Wins. Let's hope his name doesn't ring true this time. One lander, so close. Everything but a second land in there. This is a keep. So I'm pretty interested in all my lands actually, but I'm not in a crazy hurry to start gushing. It's not like I'm going to gush on 2. So I'll probably find the second island by the time before we gush on 2. The Sleight of Hand. Yeah, so that's that second island. Portent is tempting. Kind of want to threat or counterspell in my future. So I'll go ahead and get the Portent. Don't have to work too hard for islands. Okay, we're playing against Burn Deck. Burn Deck, of course, very good against us. We practically concede game 1. That's a good start, though. So we're going to Sleight of Hand. We're looking for an island. Take a Meddling Mage. And I think I'm going to opt pretty aggressive here to hit this island and keep our mana development up. City of Brass is not good enough. Plowshares is good, though. 2 mana for the Volcanic Hammer, the rare Volcanic Hammer. And another Plowshares, not mad at it. Obviously, we're looking for lands, okay. No City of Brasses for me, please. Oops, I could have opted that City of Brass away. But this way, we're just going to opt after a Flooded Strand. So I guess that's better. I mean, I float a mana, which isn't great. But my opt is going to get a little bit more value. But I think I'm not going to float a mana because I think my opponent is going to cast something that I can Plowshares, like Ball Lightning. So I have to fetch this turn, and this Carplusan Forest means they have other beatdown cards, so they could just be playing a little bit more of a interesting deck. I don't really want to be too defensive against second Ball Lightning, but this Seal of Fire is making my Meddling Mage pretty embarrassing. We'll just wait a little bit longer. We're basically trying to get towards Armageddon Psychatog here. Keep our life total up. Seal of Fires are, of course, really good against my future creatures, so Psychatog or bust. I'll take an Armageddon, though, from this spot. With the Mox Diamond, obviously, with the Gush, the Mox Diamond's obviously more tempting, but we got to worry about our other forms of development here. So try to Gush into some action. I'm contemplating throwing some burn in my face. So we're definitely gonna Sleight of Hand. Lots of Meddling Mages in our world. Play Meddling Mage. Just gonna pretend my opponent is a listener of the Spike Colony podcast. I guess we'll stay straight. Let's just go with Lightning Bolt, because it's the most efficient card that they can use against me, and most likely to bait out some Seal of Fire action. Well, Incinerate is fine. So we can also look to Plowshares around Psychatog. It's one of my favorite things. Curse Scroll is, of course, quite the lock. Really need that Armageddon now. Fascinated by the green in their deck. They've only showed me red cards so far. Don't know if they're just splashing Naturalize, which is a good answer to chill. Serve with the Mage. Mage gets through. Interesting. Go for another Mage. I'm in a virtual 9. So try to... Don't know how that ended up happening, but okay. I just wanted to type letters, but I guess my keyboard had other plans. Shock and Seal of Fire. They really just don't have too much crazy stuff going on. But that shock does mean stuff isn't getting out of their hand for that Curse Scroll, so no Curse Scroll activation there. Hammer. Looks like they're a pure burn deck aside from Ball Lightning, so these Swords of Plowshares are looking a little poor. Face. Fire Blast. Oh, Flame Rift. So I was going to name Fire Blast or something, but yeah, our opponent has Threshold, so that's the lock on us, and we can't even sort of Gush through this. So Gush, Counterspell. Oh, okay. Gush Foil, I guess, is our answer. Got to play to our outs. Would have been nice if my Meddling Mages could have worked. Okay, so maximum Armageddon, Winter Orb, maximum chill. No Sleight of Hand. My opponent had Seal of Fire, and Volcanic Hammer, which just makes me feel like they're not like a Sulfuric Vortex type player. So I feel like I gotta have some respect for that. But they are a Curse Scroll player, so I'm just gonna board out cantrips. Don't have time for cantripping. Yeah, it's fine. I just like want to play spells with all my mana. Try to just run guys out into the board, I think. Sort of disappointed in that, because I could have played around that from that spot, but it would have been really hard for me to win unless I like top deck Psychatog then and there, because the Curse Scroll would have just gotten me, but I would have had time. Well, I have Chill, no second land. I might have kept this with an island. There we go, we have Chill. And we can back up our Chill with Meddling Mage naming Naturalize, if you can believe that that's the play. Opponent was on a Multisix as well. Open on a Flooded Strand. Opponent opens on Foothills. So they are representing the possibility of a blast, huh? So we want to slow play a little. The Chill is just really important to land. Don't really want to take brass damage. Throw a burn spell at me, please. I'm only saving 1 damage with this Plains, right? Whereas I can cast Gush. I mean, obviously I'm going to plan to cast a lot more white spells later, but we can Gush first, then play Meddling Mage. do a few things. See if my opponent fetches a forest and casts Naturalize here. That would be pretty powerful. Oh my god, it's happening. Tranquil Domain, that's even better. I'm not going to Gush in response to that, but that does make my Meddling Mage names pretty strange. Pretty awkward. Opponent's not going to be able to cast Ball Lightning this turn. Okay, it's better to name Meddling Mage naming Shock, because they haven't had the possibility of a Seal of Fire in their hand. Now I wish I had a Plains in play, and then I can maybe think about Meddling Mage naming Pyroblast. Future turns. With the second red. Probably send something face. Yeah, hammer to face. Seal Fire. There it is. 2 cards for my opponent. I'll be at a virtual 8. There's no real way to weave this Dryad in because I don't have a 1 mana spell and I don't have a lot of 1 mana instants. Start with an attack. So I'm going to cast the Gush, and because I'm going to cast the Gush, I'm going to cast the Dryad. No. Let's just chill for 1 turn. Do I think they're going to go Mountain Ball Lightning on this turn exactly? I did just sideboard in a way that to spend all my mana, right? Guess we have to go for the upside. I have to be aggressive, stay on the board. Like, Quirion Dryad's as good as a 2/2. And also, yeah, even a 1 mana instant doesn't save me, right? So let's keep... And then, you know, we could go crazy. We could draw a Mox Diamond. We could draw a Chill. Both those are good things to have happen. Disenchant is not what I was thinking. Force the Seal of Fire. 1 turn of Ball Lightning vulnerability. Another seal. Boldface. Okay, virtual 5. Opponent with 1 card in hand. I need it to be a brick. Because there's no way that I'm not going to try to win the game here. Set up for a turn kill in the next turn. But yeah, I mean, Tranquil Domain getting the job done. And we have the back door to draw the 1 of foil, obviously. They're like, why am I not killing you? I should just be killing you. Okay, we have a lot of ideas. So 3. 6 activations, 7 activations. And I'll just always have a Plowshares in response. So 6 plus 12. So I'm more than covered. I'll have 8 cards in my hand after I Gush. Seems fine to me. Well, this pretty much stops everything. So 7 plus 7 activations is 14. So do this. Okay, now my opponent can't play anything. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 activations is not enough. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Wait, I'll pitch 6 and then exile 6, so it's 12 activations. So it's enough plus holding the Plowshares. Is it 4 plus 5 is 9? So 6 plus 6 is sort of necessary. And my opponent can't play any red spells besides Fire Blast. Sort of don't know what I'm doing. I want to make exactly lethal. I think I wanted to play the Mox Diamond. So 6, this is 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So playing the Mox Diamond is not an option. Okay, that's why this line is crazy. No Fire Blast. Ugh, all for nothing. Okay, they're playing Tranquil Domain. What does that change for me? Mostly nothing. Don't know if I need Engineered Play, naming Elemental. Yeah, no, let's just get some turn 1 chills with Daze backup, I guess. Daze Counterspell back up. Gaining 2 life off my Quirion Dryad kind of mattered. Yep, we just send Pyroblast, be damned. Okay, 1 time, no green source, naturalized situation. This is the anti-red plane in action. Unfortunate, but 2 counterspells is not a bad place to be. And Redundant Chill is not a bad place to be. Tranquil Domain's pretty funny because they can Tranquil Domain their own Seal of Fires away. See how control-y of a hand they had? Nope. They relented. Our counterspells are going to be good. Don't know when I'm ever going to have time to cast this Fire Ice, but it's okay. They're going to pay a lot of mana for something. A lot of mana for a Volcanic Hammer. There's more important stuff to counter, I think. But I'll Daze this if I draw Daze. Okay. I'm not going to run the second Chill into potential Tranquil Domain, but I will run the second Chill into potential Tranquil Domain with Counterspell backup. 5 mana for a Sulfuric Vortex. I'm pretty content to just disenchant this. So drawing 3 Chills is obviously good. There we go. So Tranquil Domain, double Tranquil Domain is my enemy now, but otherwise my opponent's not casting very many red spells. They do have plenty of lands. I do have Psychatog. I'm gonna relax on the Psychatog for just a little bit. Try to hold my edge by having Counterspell up at all times. 5 mana Lightning Bolt is totally fine with me, I think. Obviously countering now so that I don't have to counter later is not the worst, but there we go. There's that Psychatog. Blue, black. Slowly work it. I'll let them even blast this Tog. Okay, 6 mana for a Ball Lightning. Wait, they can't even. It's not enough. Pretty sweet. Play a Meddling Mage. Going to name like Red Blast or something. It's a lot of mana for an Incinerate. Okay, so I'm just gonna go with Tranquil Domain because Tranquil Domain is scarier than Naturalize and just doesn't matter. Actually, we're just gonna go with Fire Blast, right? We're at a virtual 8. Oh, I guess I should have named Curse Scroll. That's the best name because that costs 1 mana. I have to counterspell it. 2 for 1 trade. This Swords of Plowshares, of course, is my safety blanket here. So if I ever get into trouble, I can go Counterspell, Counterspell, Swords my Psychatog. I would Seal of Fire this Meddling Mage. Represents quite the clock. Yep. So Seal of Fire that game was pretty interesting. That turn 1 Seal of Fire meant that they weren't repping Blast. So it let me jam the Chill, but they had the Naturalize, so it kind of didn't matter for them to rep Blast. But if I hold back my Chill, it's even better for them, right? Well, now they're working with plenty of lands. We are looking for the Winter Orb or the Armageddon in a hurry now. A lot of mana. I'll counter a Volcanic Hammer. 7 is not where I want to be against 2 potential cards in hand, maybe. Because now they're just like past the point of drawing out. Okay, so these are all fine cards, actually. Just play Quirion Dryad, Meddling Mage. I'm going to tap out of Plowshares mana for the Dryad. So maybe I just want Gush. Is Gush the only card that I want? No, let's get a clock into play. I think we have enough protection that we just need to worry about closing the game a lot quicker. So I'm going to Quirion Dryad. I'm going to Mage naming Curse Scroll, maybe. Tempting Worm. Sure. That's I like to see that. So now I'm just going to start growing my Quirion Dryad a little faster. Tempting Worm is quite the sideboard tech. I mean, I like the innovations going on here. I like the idea that you're just built a burn deck that can surprise your opponent. And my Chill situation is obviously quite advantageous. So definitely kudos to my opponent. 5 mana for a Blast. 5 mana for just a straight burn spell. Fire Blast targeting Quirion Dryad. Well, that definitely limits my opponent's options. I think I'm going back to naming Tranquil Domain here because even a Curse Scroll isn't enough anymore. Opponent, 16 life. I've got 5 activations in hand. Barbarian Ring means that this Meddling Mage can be addressed, but I've got 10 life and a Swords of Plowshares in my hand. I am pretty content with my life. 5 activations means they're on a 2-turn clock. Opponent thinking about what to do. 1 card in hand. Could send another Fire Blast at Quirion Dryad. Might be what they're thinking. Would be like a very critically poor Fire Blast because of how much mana it would cost them. Their mountains are quite precious. Attack, so it's 6, 7 plus 5 plus 3. So 7 plus 8. So I'm 1 off lethal with my hand in its current state. So we're going to chill for 1 turn and ring. Okay. Opponent down to 11, and feels like this is pretty much a lock. Them using a land is also good, right? Because I've got chill. Curse Scroll doesn't matter anymore. Could have mattered, but doesn't. Curse Scroll to save them from 1 damage, not bad. And their last card is Karplusan Forest, so this is basically my opponent cannot win anymore. And we're going to just attack for 1, 2 plus 5 activations is 6, 10, 11, so it's Xaxes. Well, we escaped defeat against red. I don't know how I feel about cutting all my cantrips because Meddling Mage kind of blows, but it kind of got the job done. Obviously, just drawing fire, that's its job, is to pull fire. And because this is for YouTube, so check out the live YouTube reporting. We were playing the showdown against Francisco, who's playing a little bit of blue-white Dreadnought action. So we are going to be in 6 shape. This is an insane hand against Dreadnought, and it's so good that I'm just going to Portent Fran. No, I'm gonna Portent myself towards additional land drops. What do I do? I can wait till I draw a fetch for this Portent. So next turn we're gonna Quirion Dryad. Kind of want to see what's going on. No, actually, what I want to do is Portent myself and find a Meddling Mage. Duh. Okay, Gush counts as a Meddling Mage, if you can believe it. So I actually want all of these cards, but so yeah, if Portenting Fran would have been totally fine. I'm just gonna jam Quirion Dryad. See if Fran's a jammer. He's on the play here, so he's got some advantage. Could play his own Meddling Mage, meaning Source of Plowshares. Okay, so I know Fran trimmed on Daze, and even if he dazes here, it gets it out of his hand. So I'm just going to get aggressive. Oh, Quirion Dryad gets through. Fran. Ancient Tomb, he's playing Replenish. I should have Portented him. Fran's playing Replenish. I should have Portented him. No. No, 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 not like this. Don't turn 2 combo me. Okay. Sigh of relief. I have a great matchup against Replenish if I don't tap out. Another Frantic Search? Okay, this is fine. Portent. Should I Portent Fran? Is now the time to Portent Fran? No, I have a fetch land in play. Probably should Portent Fran. Okay, so game 1, very simple. I just need to have a lot of counterspells, which my deck is graciously giving me. So it's really hard for Fran to just beat a pile of counterspells in game 1 because I can just like stop good things from happening. Okay, so I'm shuffling away a land from the top, which I don't really need to do. But I'm not going to opt into the land, so I'm just going to draw the land. Forgot what was under. Is it just another land under? So obviously we want to counterspell Parallax Tide too. Fran with a lot of mana. Going for the Parallax Tide. If he has a lot of must counters, I'm annoyed by that, for sure. Another Sleight of Hand. Sure. Just looking for more counterspell, right? Okay. Too many Sleight of Hands. Fire Ice is, of course, useless. Looking for a foil. Sleight of Hand, Sleight of Hand, Sleight of Hand. I mean, I don't know. Sleight of Hand sort of gave me some selection there. Not the worst. This Portent is going to help me find my next counterspell. Looking for a Psychatog as well. Meddling Mage is pretty good here. 2 Meddling Mages. Okay. See if I put things in the correct order. I did. I was worried that I didn't do that correctly for a second. We're going to play Meddling Mage. This one's going to name Swords to Plowshares, and we'll play Meddling Mage. This one's going to name Replenish. And we have a Psychatog on top of our library, which we can use to draw or shuffle away. Intuition probably doesn't matter, but Fran does have 8 mana, potentially, next turn. So yeah, we don't want that Psychatog. So Fran has a Replenish in hand. Draw a card off Portent. It's going to be another Meddling Mage. So it needs to play Parallax Wave. Okay. I'll just counter Parallax Wave, and then can't do anything. Play Meddling Mage, and I'm going to name Parallax Wave. And that does it. That's the hard lock against Replenish. Right. So we just kind of do this. See if... Okay, so Fran is a... Fran is, like, definitely my friend. And because he's my friend, he's going to have Exalted Angel out of his sideboard. So I have to respect that. So I'm going to keep some Swords to Plowshares in. Although my Meddling Mage is going to name Swords to Plowshares a lot, so maybe I'll split Mage with Fire Ice. Hard counters are good. Cantrips are good. Threats are good too. Disenchants or counterspells. Tricky. Feels bad. Feels bad to trim like that. So Psychatog costs a lot of mana, so I'm just not going to play Psychatog, I think. Because I'm just going to be holding up Counterspell in so many turns. Hand could use a Meddling Mage, but we've got 2 ops, so we'll find it. Opens on Plains. We open on Sleight of Hand. Not a bad top deck. Ooh, Meddling Mage or Gush? Big question. Big question. Gotta be a Meddling Mage. I don't have any diamonds, so. Okay. Gonna go ahead and Mage here. And I'm going to name Parallax Wave. Because if Fran wants to loot a bunch of stuff into the graveyard, countering Replenish is gonna be like pretty easy. Oh, nice. Little miss. So let's go ahead and Portent. We love it all. So next turn we're going to go Quirion Dryad, Meddling Mage. Nice, Fran's still stuck on lands. Okay, let's play the Dryad, and let's play the Meddling Mage. So question is if we are scared of Soul Land Replenish combo. I think we're not, so we're still naming... Well, this time we'll name Replenish because we have Disenchant in hand. I should have named Replenish with the first one because Disenchant in hand means that Parallax Wave does nothing. So, and then yeah, Replenish is scarier from this point. And Plowshares only deals with 1 creature, so I'm gonna opt to bottom this Flooded Strand. But it looks like Fran's Mana Screw is going to just get the best of him. And I'm going to Portent Fran. And yeah, that's Fran's gonna be dead, I think, before... Oh, he gets the Flashback Deep Analysis. Okay, let's shuffle this. I guess I could counter the Flashback Deep Analysis. Could draw Deep Analysis, finally draw the 3rd land, but then the next land behind is City of Traders. Kind of an interesting one. Okay, so now I get to name Plowshares because I race an Exalted Angel. Yeah. Oh, Gro-a-tog, super good against Replenish. All right, let's jump into the semis against Rick. Kind of forgot what Rick was playing last time we crossed paths. I remember I said nice deck, but I played against this person. Played against this person in League, so I should have a read on their range. All right. Doesn't matter, this hand is keep versus everything. Wish I could change out this Mox, but it's all good. Oh yeah, they're playing this. Okay, so we are just going to... What are we gonna do? I think... So this is super awkward against like a main deck Disenchant, but... and then also I'm locking out my own Swords to Plowshares against their future Masticore, but we're gonna have to go with it. So I'm going to make Swords to Plowshares. It's just too good of a turn 1 play, and the starting aggression is going to be super strong as well. Opponent with a mine. So they might have a natural Tron. And Natural Tron into Masticore is the biggest problem for me. Second biggest problem is eventual Decree of Justice. But I'm going to get the Psychatog down now, because even though Tron Masticore is so good, even better is Wrath of God, and I'm just going to be holding up Counterspell for Wrath of God the rest of the game. So no Tron, no Masticore. There's probably some draw spells. Yep. Another Psychatog is not very good. So we're just going to chip away. It's a little sad we have not found any cantrips and we've drawn 3 dead cards. It does happen sometimes, but hopefully 3 dead cards is fewer than the amount of dead cards on my opponent's 7-card hand. Okay, so we are now facing down Decree of Justice, which is annoying. Island is not exciting. I'm not going to hold it for pitching. I think the eventual Gush mana development is important. So this is a Decree for 5. So I would need to activate my Tog 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4 is fine. So my Psychatog is going to be fogged for a long time, though. Oh, this is a stroke of genius. No, it's just an impulse. So my opponent with Tron, maybe I should have just gone for lethal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 activations. So it's short quite a bit of damage, but a Gush is lethal off the top. So let's see if we can make that happen. Oh man, this Decree of Justice is looking big. Decree of Justice is a huge pain for my deck, of course. So, well, this time it gets 8 tokens. Oh man, Decree of Justice, huh? So I'm just going to be boarding an Engineered Plague. So I'm looking for Armageddon here. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Not presenting lethal yet, so missing the Meddling Mage attack last turn, like an aggressive gamble line, is going to cost me. So let's see how they stack up the tokens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think if I started on Portent. Oh yeah, they're gonna let the Psychatog do some damage. So trading cards for 1/1 tokens is not the best, but I think I'm going to discard 2 and exile 2. Exile. Discard. Discard. Exile. Okay, so they have 8 tokens in front, so if I discard Psychatog and Portent, I can do all 8. So the real question is, how good is this Portent? Otherwise, I leave behind 3 tokens. It's probably fine. I kind of need a Quirion Dryad, basically. If the Psychatog was a Quirion Dryad, life would be slightly better for me. Okay. So we are going to get it all. So I'm going to put the Opt on top, just in case something matters. And then I'll just play Dryad with Counterspell up, and then I'm going to start cantripping. Opponent with infinite mana. Things are looking pretty dicey if they draw another Decree of Justice. They can just kind of dominate with me with decrees, and decrees can't be countered, so that's going to be tricky for me to handle. Natural Tron, 2 impulses, so not Natural Tron, right? Okay, so decree for a lot of tokens. That is... I've never played this matchup, and it's just something that I had not considered ever in my life. And I'm just like, well, what if my opponent has Tron and they cast a lot of Decree of Justice? Yeah, I'm going to take 11. My opponent tapping out as well, so that indicates that they have the 3rd decree. Okay, I kind of want this Sleight of Hand because I want the train to keep going. What are my outs? I'm going to take 11. I'm going to go down to 8, and then I'm going to be facing 11 tokens, which means I would need 4 blockers. So my out would be like Meddling Mage. And then I'm just like dead to a Wrath of God. But Meddling Mage can at least name Wrath of God. So I need a mana source and a Meddling Mage in my top. There's the mana source, but that is not the right kind of mana source. So now I need a Gush. Otherwise, life is bad. Okay. Decree of Justice. Maybe I should have been more aggressive. Fire Ice. I was drawing towards that as well. Do I need Disenchant effects? Daze against the Tron deck. It's pretty funny. So yeah, I'll board in Disenchants. Against a random Humility, it could be good. I can Disenchant a Masticore while Meddling Mage is naming Plowshares. And I'm really just countering Wrath of Gods. So like Mage naming Plowshares, counter Wrath of God. Maybe Mastercore doesn't matter because, well, Mastercore kills Meddling Mage, so that's the problem. And then I'm just gonna try to stick an Armageddon. My opponent's deck has a lot of counter spells, but I think with Engineered Plague, I'm in a much better spot. And I also just need a little bit more proactive start next time. Okay, mulliganing a 0-lander. Okay, mulliganing a 0-lander. Opponent on the keep. Finally get a workable hand. So I'm going to start on a Sleight of Hand in case I draw a Meddling Mage. So yeah, if the Quirion Dryad eats a eats a Plowshares early, life is hard, and if it doesn't, life is easy. My opponent is certainly representing it with that Plains though. Don't think I can give up the upside. On the other hand, I do think I can give up the upside. Wait till turn 4 to play my first creature. That sounds bad. Alternately, I can opt and Portent and then find the Meddling Mage, but the Meddling Mage will then have the potential to run into a Counterspell. So, I mean, my opponent opening on Plains definitely looks like Plowshares. So I'm going to, I'd rather trade my Quirion Dryad for a Counterspell than a Plowshares. And that's my thinking. So next turn, I'm just gonna see if they'll choose to do this. So I do have a Meddling Mage. So what I'm gonna do is see if I can. I mean, it seems pretty bad, I think, in a lot of ways that I have this set up to do things in any order. So, but I just don't want to let my opponent get the free Plowshares off. And so basically Quirion Dryad, Plowshares, and they untap and they have Counterspell mana up is like really bad for me. So instead, I want the line to be play something on 2 because my opponent is likely to play likely to use their mana for like an impulse type effect here. So I'd rather make it so they can't impulse the turn because they're going to be countering my Meddling Mage. And then next turn I can Quirion Dryad with Counterspell up, and then life is okay. I mean, they can then untap and Wrath of God me, but you know, I'll have put them down on I'll have put them low on some key resources. I'll put them down on a counter. This mulligan to 5 hurt me a lot, obviously, but we can still get out of this with some drawing towards our Armageddon Winter Orb type cards. The real question is if I would counterspell a Swords to Plowshares here, and I would. I think countering Swords here is really just like I have to be able to put myself in a position to get lucky. Like that Swords is their only answer, and then we can start cooking from there. And our opponent's so far away from Tron, so they're just kind of like a mopey blue-white control deck until Tron is online. Their Stroke of Genius is going to be no good. You know, they're going to be playing, like they're going to be trying to cast Wrath of God and other stuff that's just like not very like interesting or powerful. This could be like a Decree cycle for 1. Armageddon changes everything. I want to Armageddon with at least a land drop behind. And I think I can survive this turn cycle and also put my opponent in a position where they use their mana hopefully on something. Okay, so this is an interesting development. I'm really not in a hurry. I want the land. The Engineered Plague isn't really that great. Like from this position, my opponent's at least 2 turns away from Tron, and I'm gonna hopefully have landed an Armageddon. But the Meddling Mage is really enticing. So if next turn I just go Meddling Mage, and I can name something like Power Sink, I can name Swords to Plowshares. I can also bait my opponent into casting Wrath of God with the Meddling Mage and Quirion Dryad on the table, like them hoping I don't have a counter. That might be the trick. So my opponent's going to untap. They're going to have 5 mana. This combination of cards is like basically like the worst set, basically. Like just enough for me to keep, but I really wish I could find some better action here. But it's okay. And I also have to let a Swords to Plowshares go, I think. Because suddenly it's going to be much more important to kind of get this Armageddon going on the road. My opponent, of course, could play Power Sink against my Meddling Mage. Powder Keg. That's an interesting one. I am in the mood to counter this because if you counter back, then you get Armageddon. They let it through. Skycloud Egg. So now I have to Meddling Mage naming Wrath of God. That is going to be something. Opponent just played Skycloud Egg. So I'm in range for a Power Sink. And I could just try to completely slam the door by just jamming this Armageddon. I'm so many cards behind. My opponent's mana is finally caught up with them. The other thing is I can name Wrath of God, and that's really good. Our opponents cast 1 Prohibit. Whew, boy. Letting them have lands for so many turns. Like 4 cards in hand is not a lot of cards in hand. Like what have they done? Impulse, Prohibit, Impulse, Powder Keg. They haven't found Tron, so they haven't been impulsing for Tron pieces. They probably picked up the Powder Keg at some point, but they let me go through. I think it's like a little bit too crazy to go for this Armageddon because of the high likelihood that they would have counterspells. Even though some of their counterspells are Prohibit, some of them are Mana Leak and some of them are Power Sink, and I really just don't want to get Power Sunk. Ironically, City of Brass and Drain Power have a interaction. Interesting. So I'm priced into naming Wrath of God, but I don't like it. But next turn, I can really go for a huge... Oh, miscalculation. Okay. Well, proud of myself for that one. So lots of pressure on my opponent. They're down to 13. They cycle to Counterspell. Let's see what they do next. They get 1 more Tron piece. At this point, we are definitely playing Engineered Plague, and if it gets countered, we're okay with it because it'll mean less soldiers. Should we have played the Engineered Plague around potential miscalculation? Maybe. But we did not get punished, so nothing's getting countered right now. We could get Frontside Decreed, which would be hilarious, and if they Frontside a Decree with... so maybe I should have held up Counterspell mana to make the Frontside Decree, but this is just a stroke for 3. But stroke for 3 into Tron into Frontside Decree is kind of hilarious here. And also, it inevitably puts some copies of Swords of Plowshares into their hand. No Tron, so Frontside Decree does not make any angels. It just makes 1 Disenchant. Okay, I'm okay with that. Okay, so now I'm going to first bait the Decree, and then I'm going to get in. Because that's their only out, and they're going to want to make those tokens. It's just 2 tokens as well. So they're definitely not going to... double block the Meddling Mage because it would kill them. Contemplating letting the Meddling Mage through. I would if I was them. Of course, I know that is extremely good for me. I drew a lot of City of Brass this game. All right, good Armageddon for me. And should we just port them off White Source for potential, like make sure they don't have Swords of Plowshares? I don't see a reason why not. Just keep them off anything. Like if I see a bunch of 2-drops and stuff, that's like kind of what matters basically. I don't know how many lands they have. Okay, so yeah, we'll just do Plowshares. Then you can have this land, which is not very good, and then you can draw a miscalculation. Okay, so they can get out of this with Plowshares. So they drew miscalculation for turn, but we got there. All right, Powder Keg. What an annoying card. So my question is, how much do I respect Masticore? Masticore is a giant problem. It's unlimited blocker. It kills all my Meddling Mages. It's good for them. On the other hand, it's the literal only Swords of Plowshares target, and they've given me something to target with this Powder Keg situation. They also have their own disenchants, so their disenchant, my plagues are going to catch disenchants some amount of the time. But it worked out for me the way that the sequencing went. Counterspell is just for countering counterspells right now. And then foil is actually the same idea that I'm going to go Armageddon Gush foil. So if my opponent gets Masticore onto the battlefield, it's a stalemate against a large Quirion Dryad. And then they're going to be forced to use 2 mana every turn, and then maybe Winter Orb Armageddon can then like layer up. And then I can always counter Mastercore on the front or disenchant the Mastercore after it comes down, and I disrupt the mana first. So they really need a lot of mana for the Mastercore to work. So it makes me think this Swords of Plowshares is like quite thin. And then Disenchant for Powder Keg I think is important. Powder Keg could really ruin my day. And it's also making me feel like Counterspell is just better as well, because the Counterspell in the Powder Keg was super important, and I would need more where that came from. And I think Engineered Plague is actually less important because I'm pressuring their mana so much, they're just less likely to get these big decrees. Or I can just like trim a cantrip or trim a land on the draw. I think Winter Orb is still got to be good, even if they can untap like a land that taps for 3 colorless mana. Maybe this extra disenchant is like a little bit crazy because Powder Keg still is the only target, but I'm trying to spread against Powder Keg and Mastercore, so let's ship it. All right, big game 3. Was not a fan of how that game 1 went, really. I just kind of feel like I should be advantaged, but we just won on a mull to 5, so we shouldn't be sad. So this is a great hand. I just need that land, and then once I do, I have Meddling Mage into Winter Orb, and then we get cooking. Chromatic Sphere, pretty good start from them. Okay, so do I want to play around Disenchant? I do not think so. So let's just get this mage down and name Swords of Plowshares, and then Winter Orb my opponent out of the game. They can, of course, follow up with a Powder Keg, which I would hate, but I am trying to live in an optimistic world here. Powder Keg, of course, I almost named Powder Keg. Well, maybe I should name Powder Keg. I've got another 2 mana permanent, and I have 0 mana permanents that get swept up. And like, that's the big thing, is if Powder Keg hits the battlefield, like Powder Keg isn't going to stop me from playing Winter Orb for a while. So it's actually the best card against me in this spot. Like if they Plowshares it, it's like Meddling Mage trades for Plowshares. There's gonna be a while till they find the next Plowshares, but Powder Keg is like really the thing that matters. Island, natural island, even better. Okay, so start the aggression. Quote unquote aggression. It's like 2 damage. But if we draw a Gush, it's pretty good. Yeah, I can play a Winter Orb around Miscalculation next turn, so I'm going to elect to do that. My opponent can Impulse. Yeah, they're digging. So they're really... I'm noticing that this Tron deck is like got kind of a Xerox thing. It's like all Tron and bombs, so they're just like trying to get to their Tron and bombs. How many Engineered Plague did I settle on? 3? I think 3 is fine. Decree of Justice is that important, and they show that they're going to bring their own Disenchant, so... Another Tron piece. Let's get an opt-in. Could have thought about opting. Engineered Plague. Not right now, Engineered Plague. I have a Winter Orb, so... Oh, not right now, Swords of Plowshares either. If that was a Sleight of Hand, it would have been an easy Engineered Plague take. Okay. So this... I think this Winter Orb should be quite powerful. Going for the power sink into Disenchant, maybe? Prohibit. 1 floating. I mean, they just tapped out for that, so... I don't know why they tapped out for that, though. Oh, because they're going to Swords of Plowshares my Meddling Mage afterwards? I would like to have a Winter Orb in play with this hand. It's a very precious counterspell that I'm using, but that's showbiz. So I should have named Plowshares. I mean, I should know that they don't run a lot of Powder Kegs, but okay. We are able to protect our Winter Orb from a Disenchant and hopefully get to a Armageddon type effect before my opponent gets to Tron into broken stuff. Yeah, these eggs are so inefficient for them. Loving life right now. They missed a land drop. Okay, let's just Gush. Meddling Mage. I'm going to wait 1 more turn for a Meddling Mage plus Counterspell. Going to be pretty incentivized, I think, to Mage Swords of Plowshares. Should I Mage Wrath of God? I shouldn't Mage Wrath of God because I've got a covered Counterspell, so I have to Mage Powder Keg again. Because they've used the Plowshares and Powder Keg is too much leverage, and it's too easy for them to Powder Keg with backup, and I don't have the Disenchant ready. And I have a Plowshares in my hand. Gotta pick the card that 3 for 1's my board. But because of that, I could have played Quirion Dryad first and then forced the counterspell, and then, who knows? This impulse is so bad. It's like impulse for a land drop. Oh, they just drew a card. They tapped their lands to draw a card. That's not good. I would not have done that, but they needed their land drop so bad. So I guess I understand. Okay, so we're still fearing Tron, but at least Tron into stuff taps them out. I'm going to protect this Dryad because they can't untap and Wrath of God me. Okay. Life is good. Let's find some more Counterspell. I guess I want the foils back now. Okay, we're going to name Wrath of God here. Should we name Plowshares? We should name Plowshares. Because Wrath of God is going to not be possible for them to cast with counter backup under like 1,000 circumstances. Untap a Tron land, play a Tron land, Wrath of God with Tron land up, or they play a blue land. No, let's still name Wrath. Because what's going to happen is I can just let Swords of Plowshares resolve. Because I have so many creatures in play that... Well, okay, so Wrath of God... So Swords of Plowshares is better if they have Decree of Justice at any point, and they can just kind of do like a decent... like a Decree to stall for time. Because Wrath of God just taps so much of their mana. It's like I'm going to counter it. They counter back. I mean, I'm thinking like 2 turns. Disenchant the Winter Orb. Yeah, we're going to protect the Winter Orb because they're only going to untap 1 land from there. Got to keep them tapped down. Okay, so they have Tron. They can make 3 soldier tokens. They can also Stroke of Genius for 3. Very tense game, but I don't know. I've always felt good against these style of decks, but who knows? City of Brass. So open on Sleight of Hand. Portent. Man, life would be so much easier if I had Armageddon right now. Or Engineered Plague. So let's Portent to see what's up, and then if there's Engineered Plague on top, I'm not going to send the Meddling Mages. Okay, these cards aren't good. So now instead, I'm going to send the Meddling Mages. They can only double block one of them, or well, they can triple block one. So they can triple block the one naming Wrath of God, but then but then they can untap. So I have to send these 2. Because they can untap and Wrath of God. They can tap out and then untap the Urza Mine, play a white source, and then Wrath me. So I can't risk the Wrath of God one. I'll get an 8 damage, but then I'll lose my board. The Powder Keg, of course, here is like way too slow. And I can, of course, save my Meddling Mage. So Tron is, of course, pretty scary here, but that's how life goes. Decree. See if they want to make all 3. They do want to make all 3, so they're going to be tapped very low next turn. Oh no, I miscounted. I should have sent both because they can't untap and Wrath because they'll untap 1 land and then they need a little bit more action. So now they can actually get to Powder Keg, but I'm of course going to stop them. So I should have gotten an extra 2 damage in for this blunder. But untap your, I don't know, untap this. I don't know. Okay, Flooded Strand is a blank. Flooded Strand for them is quite good. Puts me under some threat. Let's untap the City of Brass. We might draw Gush, I think. Counterspell, nice. Okay. Opponent is not going to be liking life. Down to 4, Flooded Strand, pass. Okay, another Decree here is just for 2 tokens, so it is like a sustenance Decree. We might as well opt into potential Engineered Plague. Does Disenchant matter? Pretty sure it doesn't. Okay, Decree. So they should be dead, but it doesn't matter because they're just dead. Winter Orb really did the thing. Pretty proud of that. But yeah, I should have obviously attacked with the Mage that turn. And I guess I had the good read. No second Swords Plowshares. Wow. Okay, we're gonna go to the finals. It's pretty sick. All right, final time, baby. Finals time versus the Paul Master. Yeah, we're gonna like this hand against any deck that's bad against Meddling Mage. Ooh, what if this opt was a peak? How sick would that be? Friggin' peak. If it was a Portent, I would definitely Portent Paul Master here, I think. Double Meddling Mage, the kind of information's pretty sick. So Paul Master could be playing Elves, could be playing Replenish, could be playing something that mults to 5. Paul on a multi 5. I've got the Meddling Mage. Basic Plains. That just means I'm going to name Swords to Plowshares. So Basic Plains, is there a possibility that there's a Oath of Druids in my future? I don't think so, right? Seems unlikely. In fact, I think Basic Plains, nothing... I don't know, it just doesn't matter. It's just like, this is just such a strong play against every Basic Plains. I think the only thing that this gets busted by is possible, like, Armageddon, which is a deck that I know Paul Master likes to play. Because I need my own Swords of Plowshares against Armageddon. But looks like could be battling against Replenish. Yeah, we almost certainly are now. All right, so the next card we're going to name is Parallax Wave. And the reason is because I'm going to know ahead of time if Replenish is coming. So I'll know to hold up Counterspell if, like, Paul Master passes with 3 mana up or does any shenanigans like that. Yeah, it's Replenish. It's been working for him, so don't blame him. A little attunement. But yeah, it's gonna be really hard for Paul Master to get anything through. My counter magic and these 2 Meddling Mages are absolutely going to deal all the damage that I need them to do. I do have to be worried about, like, potential mana leak backup shenanigans sorts of things, but that's okay. Hopefully I just find double Counterspell, just make things simple. For sideboard, I don't have, like, the most powerful options, but we have the Armageddon, so it's pretty good. So I'm gonna ice this island. Paul Master has access to Mana Leak. Just cut down his ability to go Mana Leak Intuition in the same turn. This 3rd Meddling Mage is gonna be sick. This foil is unbelievable. Unreal. Triple Meddling Mage game. All right, and now Paul Master will not be able to remove a creature from the battlefield. So I don't have to worry about Replenish. Paul Master can, of course, Tide Combo me, but he won't be able to get it through, and it also won't matter unless he was, like, able to get Opalescence. Intuition is fine. Double Counterspell is just too insane for me. I could have led with Gush, but and then I would have been able to cast Sleight of Hand. Interesting attunement spin there. Needs to find the additional land so that he can jam Opalescence with attunement backup, jam Opalescence with Mana Leak backup, but won't be able to get it through. All right, pretty simple first game with the triple Meddling Mage. A little bit strong. All right, same general idea, just without Fire Ice. Don't think Paul Master plays the Exalted Angels. My version of Apprentice, I like to board in Exalted Angels exactly for a matchup like this. Blocks Meddling Mage, gets busy, and real question is if I want this Winter Orb. Replenish can deal with Winter Orb pretty well because they have access to Frantic Search to untap their stuff. But it's still pretty disruptive when they're trying to, like, spend 5 mana a turn or 4 mana a turn. And it cuts off their ability to go for big double spell turns around counterspells. So I don't mind going heavy on the Winter Orb. Our setup still looks and feels pretty crazy good. Quirion Dryad is actually pretty unnecessary here. The game is just going to last forever, right? Like, I get Meddling Mage down, I'm going to clock them. I don't know. Pressure is still good, though. Hard to say. Like, my main thinking is, like, all I'm going to do is, like, what I did that game is just play Meddling Mage and ride Meddling Mage counterspells and disruption all the way to the end. But I actually think Daze is still quite good. Daze is, like, really good against Replenish. All their spells cost 4 mana, so maybe having, like, infinite Disenchant is, like, I'm just going to be Disenchant flooded, but I think it's, like, pretty relevant because I want to, like, Disenchant random Seal of Cleansing if Paul Master goes for Tide Combo, although Tide Combo is pretty weak against me. All right, Trim a Cantrip. Don't like to, but it's fine. Some argument for trimming a Psychatog, but I don't think that's the plan. All right, we have a land and a Portent and an Armageddon and a Gush and a Counterspell. Oh, Paul Master has Defense Grids. Forgot about that. Or does he? Maybe maybe just the Czech Nationals list has Defense Grid. Kind of forgot. All right, we even get a shuffle here. I already have these cards. This is just a carbon copy of the cards that I had earlier. But I'm really just looking for a land. City of Traders, that's very aggressive. That smells like a possible Replenish jam. So I can Meddling Mage Replenish in order to try to prevent the jam. But things can still get dicey. But Palmaster's mana is so restricted. Once Meddling Mage cuts off Replenish, it's very hard for me to imagine a sequence in which next turn, so I'm going to Meddling Mage now, but that means next turn if I don't draw an island, I can't hold up Counterspell. So I have to Sleight of Hand and opt into my next blue source. And then if I don't find a blue source in the next two, I'm kind of cooked. So I'm going to maybe take this turn to just opt and hold up Counterspell, but it's hard to imagine what Palmaster is going to do with the City of Traders in play. It's going to make things hard. But yeah, this lack of the second blue source and hitting all my land drops is more important than the Meddling Mage, if you can believe it, just because I also have this Armageddon. So things definitely get pretty threatening. And holding up Counterspell for this Replenish also gets a lot of value. So spins Attunement. I think going for the jam here would be a throw. But the City of Traders really signifies that it's like we're going to start you wouldn't cast the City of Traders unless you plan on tapping it like 3 times, basically. Oh my God, look at this. Recast Attunement. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Pitched in Attunement. No land drop. Okay. It's going to be a slow one. Let's find that second blue. Mox Diamond's quite good. Mox Diamond's going to be reasonable. So what I can do is I can Sleight of Hand, and then if I don't find the land, I can Gush to backdoor out of my predicament. And I do want to play something. Okay. Obviously I'm missing that Daze, but it's not the end of the world. Should I fetch an island right now because Palmaster could stifle me? Probably not. It's a funny consideration though. Spins the Attunement. Attunement's a card I really hate against this kind of grindy matchup because you only go down in cards. Like, you're not doing anything advantageous with your Attunement, so I think it's pretty risky. Like, Frantic Search, sure. I mean, there's no value here. And no land drops, no anything. Oh, I forgot he has his own Meddling Mages. That's why I want to keep in some good stuff, but I don't even know what he's going to Meddling Mage, you know? Recast Attunement down to 3 cards. Yeah, that's fine. Think now I can Meddling Mage, name Replenish, cast Gush. So now I can even do that with Counterspell backup. So Meddling Mage, pretty easy one there. And the real question is if I would name, if I would counter copies of Swords to Plowshares, and I think I would. Palmaster is so low on resources here with only 3 cards left in hand, no lands, that protecting my Meddling Mage is like pretty good. The best he can do this turn is play 1 additional white source. So I think this is a strategic mistake. I really like every turn that Palmaster spins Attunement, he just gets further from being able to play any kind of card advantage game against me. Like this is like a perfect picture of the sort of bait of Attunement, because all the cards going to your graveyard is bad. Like if you're playing against Gro-a-tog, just casting these spells is gonna like force me to interact, right? But instead we had like a poor mana development in the start with the City of Traders, and then now we're going into turn 5. We have 2 lands in play, and we're just gonna like cast a Meddling Mage. I don't even have to work at all. Like once Palmaster plays his 3rd land, I get an Armageddon with Gush backup. I get a Gush this turn with Psychatog. It's pretty good, but I don't know. Armageddon now also sounds fine. Palmaster only has 1 card in hand, but let's go ahead and start with the Gush because that's always going to happen. Double Mox Diamond, so we can Armageddon and then double Mox Diamond and then play Psychatog. Yeah, that sounds like a good line. So we're open to getting Plowshares here, but it's fine. Plains, that's the worst kind of land to draw. Oops, didn't mean to click that, but it's okay. Okay. Well, that's awkward. I do want Gush foil, so let's go ahead and get Gush foil into our world. I don't know how, like, basically I'm just going to do half at a time. I don't know how vulnerable to Swords of Plowshares I want to worry about. Yeah, 7 damage, pass priority. 7 damage is good. Okay, so we unfortunately don't have counter magic up for 1 turn. But yeah, look at the resource differential here. The Armageddon killed the same amount of lands for me as it did for Paulmaster, but pretty easy to just go for the throat here with the counter magic backup. I think Paulmaster is F6'd, so this matchup has only gotten better for me. It used to be a little bit like less like it feels like crazy, right? Like I've been so ahead these games, but it hasn't always felt like that. I've like, you know, it's been close before, but Gro-a-tog, man, pretty sweet. Yeah. Nice little playoff win. Couple replenish decks. I already forgot what else I played against, but sweet match against Paulmaster. I talked to him after the match, and you know, his sort of plan post board was to kind of spin attunement or, you know, use the selection until he can get a big Orms Chant plus replenish turn. Obviously, Meddling Mage was making that hard, but, you know, you just have to add Swords of Plowshares in there to try to help that out. Or, of course, you could just play a Parallax Wave in a setup turn. But if you don't draw lands, then you're kind of unlucky there. Yeah, you know, tough to it's a tough matchup for Replenish, and you know, to some extent, no matter what he did, he was fighting an uphill battle. Deck performed super well, you know, 3 blue-white decks: blue-white Tron, blue-white Replenish, and then 1 burn deck, sort of spicy burn deck. So Chills got in there, Engineered Plagues got in there for the Decree tokens, Revelation got in there, Mana Disruption got in there. Really proud of the deck. It was kind of whirring like a machine. My hands were good, but when they weren't good, I was cantripping into the goods. 4 counterspells felt, it felt so good. It seems crazy to me that I didn't just like try to play it earlier. Trimming on Fire Ice is, of course, a sacrifice, but Plowshares is better than Fire. You know, didn't get anybody with the Daze, I guess, but so, you know, just cut this Daze, whatever. Cut this Daze, keep it in. Open deck list, keep 1 Daze in so they have to fear, and then rest of the time maybe just cut the Daze. But yeah, deck has just been super good. We haven't won a Showdown playoff series in a while, so super hyped to pick that up. And you know, honestly, I feel like, I mean, this is definitely the strongest deck that I play. But it is feeling just really powerful. I know this is just kind of a small slice of the meta game. 3 blue-white decks and a green-red sort of spicy burn deck. You know, a Tron deck, you're not going to see that often. You'll see Replenish sometimes, but Replenish is like maybe a little, you know, just hot right now because Paulmaster has been on a decent run with the deck, and, you know, Fran was just trying it on for size. He's tried it on for size a couple times, and it's been you know, kind of up and down for him, but you know, I still think this deck is great against Dreadnought. You know, this chill plan you know, shows some promise against burn. You still have to get a little lucky, so I wouldn't say it turns it into like a 60% matchup or anything, but, you know, at least it gives you, like, at least it makes it so you don't have to give up. You know, I still want to try the Call of Herds. There's still more to tinker with, but I think if you're going to pick up a Gro-a-tog deck list, this is like a really, really solid list to start with. And the only things that I would tweak is like maybe the 1 Daze, maybe try a second foil, maybe like Fire Ice, maybe the 4th Swords of Plowshares moves over to the sideboard, maybe a second Armageddon moves into the main deck. So little things to tweak here and there, but this core is starting to really, really solidify for me. And yeah, I'm super excited to keep trying to push it. So yeah, thanks for watching. You know, like and subscribe. If you're interested in supporting monetarily, I have the coffee link in the description. Check out spycolony.com. No new articles yet, but you know, still check it out. Check out Spy Colony Premodern on Facebook, and check out the Spy Colony podcast. Love, Laney.